of Teotihuacan. At one point, this was a thriving cultural center. Some believe this was the first great city of the Western Hemisphere. But after centuries of dominance, it suddenly collapsed. Its inhabitants left us no readable documents to explain why, just their monuments, their art, and their graves. Hi, I'm Josh Bernstein, and I've come here to central Mexico to explore the fate of this city's people. And there's no better place to start than with the ruins of the city itself.
Pyramids dominate the city skyline. Today, 3 major ones still stand. But in the past, as many as 200 smaller pyramids, all just a few feet from each other, dotted the city. Construction started in the 1st century AD. At its height, around 450 AD, almost 150,000 people lived here, in specially designed apartment complexes. The city stretched out for some 20 square miles, making it one of the ancient world's largest cities. Then, sometime after 550 AD, the city was suddenly abandoned, with no records left to explain what happened. Teotihuacan is located some 30 miles from modern-day Mexico City. It's easy to confuse the Teotihuacanos with the Maya or the Aztecs. But the Maya, who lived hundreds of miles away, were culturally and ethnically distinct from Teotihuacan. The Aztecs, on the other hand, may have descended from the Teotihuacanos. They were the ones who discovered the silent ruins of the city some 700 years after its collapse. The superhuman majesty of the ruins so profoundly impressed them that they immortalized it in their legends. They named this monumental city Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. Today, it's the most visited archaeological site in Mexico, but is still one of the least understood. Who built Teotihuacan? I'm here at the on-site museum with Dr. Mike Spence. He's conducted extensive excavations at Teotihuacan. His specialty? Analyzing human remains. Mike introduces me to some of the earliest inhabitants, or at least what's left of them. Clues like these have given him insight into the city and its people.
When we found these revolutionized our understanding of Teotihuacan. We had the idea that Teotihuacan was primarily peaceful. But when we found these, we realized that there was a more sinister aspect to the city. These particular individuals are soldiers, we believe.
Mike, how do you know that these guys were soldiers?
You can see that they're wearing these shell collars, and below the collars, hanging from them, are a series of replicas of human jawbones.
The ones here are replicas because this is a museum, or they actually were buried with replicas?
No, they were buried with replicas.
Oh, really?
Replicas meant to symbolize or represent the various kills they made in warfare.
So each jaw represents one or a certain number of people they've killed?
I think so.
Judging from the number of jawbone pendants, we can tell that they were clearly elite soldiers. But a closer examination of their remains could tell me a lot more about them and their civilization. Mike takes me to a storeroom, stacked from floor to ceiling with ancient remains found at the site.
Is that it?
Well, there's more in other aisles.
Got anything in a size 11?
We go on a treasure hunt of sorts.
Here's another one.
And stack up on the bones of one man who lived here some 2,000 years ago.
I'll carry this one.
Okay. First.
He's a critical source of information.
Oh, this is like a really scary Christmas present. What'd you get me?
You can catch.
I'm gonna give him something.
Grab that one. That's the femur. Go. The other femur.
Ah, I got you.
Ah, the tibia. Ah, very good.
There you go.
We lay the bones out like you'd expect him to be buried. But this wasn't the way his bones were actually found.
Put this out like this a little bit, and then these would come back in, sort of flexing the legs, you know? And that's how the legs were close together and bent.
His bent position tells us that he was bound at the feet. And that's not all.
Now the wrists, they would have looked like this, only they would have been underneath.
Probably would have been behind the pelvis, right?
Yeah.
So is it like this, where they're actually...
That's right, yeah, a little higher, about the small of the back. Yeah.
And in this case, the cause of death was?
I think he was probably buried alive.
Buried alive, along with 200 other healthy young people, all sacrificed in a single, seemingly gruesome event. Who were these victims? Fortunately, bones and teeth store chemical records of oxygen isotopes. These act like geographic markers, allowing us to find out more about these people. Nearly all of the oxygen that goes into the formation of tooth and bone comes from the water we drink. The oxygen isotopes in bones change when a person moves from one place to another. By analyzing these isotopes, scientists can tell where the person lived before he died.
Can you show me how that's done?
The bone told us that he'd been living in Teotihuacan for some years before he was sacrificed.
On the other hand, oxygen isotopes in teeth don't change over time. They're imprinted by water we drink in childhood, when our teeth are forming. By comparing these isotopes to those in the water in various places, Mike can tell that this soldier wasn't born here.
Yep. The isotopes in the tooth indicates that he spent his childhood someplace else, not in Teotihuacan, not even near Teotihuacan.
How far away?
Could have been Highland, Guatemala, and that's 1,000 or more kilometers away. It could have been Michoacan, which is still 200 to 300 kilometers away. So his story, he was born a long distance away, probably Highland, Guatemala, arrived at some point in Teotihuacan, became a member of the military, served in Teotihuacan for some years, and then was sacrificed.
The other victims have a similar story. Most of them were born elsewhere and moved to Teotihuacan later in life. This suggests that the rulers recruited people from diverse regions of Mesoamerica before sacrificing them at the altar of the state.
Isn't that a testament then to the power of Teotihuacan?
Yes.
So this city had quite an allure.
Tells us that this was the premier city of Mesoamerica.
So Teotihuacan was known far and wide.
It was.
For being special.
It was more than special. It wasn't just an ordinary city, not even an extraordinary city. It was absolutely unique. It was the city where time began, where the present universe was formed, where the gods sacrificed themselves to make men.
Risking their lives on the battlefield wasn't all that was asked of these soldiers. The state even demanded the ultimate sacrifice at times of peace. Who ordered the death of these people? How did they make this state so attractive that immigrants from so far away gave up their lives for it? Coming up, in search of answers, I take to the sky and plunge deep into a hidden passage beneath a giant pyramid.
Getting smaller.
I'm on a quest to find out who built the city of the gods. I've examined their bones and found some pretty grisly evidence of sacrifice. Now, I'm heading to see their monuments to learn more about the city. The scale and magnificence of Teotihuacan has long perplexed archaeologists and scientists. The epic architecture and organization suggest a strong central authority. I've asked Linda Manzanilla, a leading archaeologist in Teo, to tell me more about the city's design.
When people first settled here?
We have traces of villages towards the southern part of the valley around 400 before Christ. But the beginning of the construction was around 80 AD.
Okay.
And then we think that there was an elite who planned the city as a model of the Mesoamerican cosmos.
So this city was always designed to be something significant?
Yes, it seems as it was very planned from the beginning.
I learned that the visionary elite responsible for the early stages of construction planned this city in such detail that it's still one of the most impressive examples of city planning in human history. To get a full grasp of this city's scale, Linda tells me I have to get another point of view.
All right, up and away.
To get to the ancient city of Teotihuacan from here, I have to fly above the modern one.
For the wind. Yeah. The captain just told me that if we stay low, the wind will take us right over the pyramids. If we go high, it's going to come back this way. Wind direction shifts with altitude.
Buenos días. Salude con la mano.
Buenos días.
Around 45,000 people live in the Teotihuacan municipality today.
It was a bit voyeuristic.
That's not even a third the number who lived here 2,000 years ago. But the way in which this modern city is laid out seems much more haphazard than the ancient one. I was impressed by the size of the city from the ground, but from up here, what I see is a testament to the complexity and sophistication of the people who designed and built this city.
I've learned from Linda that the architects of Teotihuacan had something very precise in mind when they laid this city out. We've got the Avenue of the Dead running north-south. At this end, what we call today the Pyramid of the Moon. We don't know what they actually called it back then. And then over here on the east side is the Pyramid of the Sun. Here we can see the avenue. You see there's a line. Imagine a line going from the Pyramid of the Sun due west. And that crosses the Avenue of the Dead, heading north-south. This quadrangle is how archaeologists believe that this city was laid out to a master plan.
There's something more to this grid plan than meets the eye. Apparently, every wall, every street going north-south is angled exactly the same. Bearing just shy of true north, they're all angled at 15 degrees, 25 minutes east. The significance of this orientation? It's still a mystery.
It's really obvious from up here that nothing in this site is accidental or random. Everything was designed with a purpose.
It's as if the rulers wanted their pyramids to compete with the surrounding mountains. The scale and size of the pyramids were perhaps assurance that the elite were so powerful that they can now rival the gods themselves. What else do we know about these rulers and their imperial city? I head back to rejoin Linda Manzanilla, who wants to take me to a place where most people aren't allowed to go.
I would like you to wear this.
Okay.
It's a tunnel that goes like a serpent towards the center of the pyramid, and it's like the entrance to the underworld.
Oh, fun.
Linda is taking me under the Pyramid of the Sun, one of the biggest pyramids in the world. It rises as high as a 20-story building and is filled in with about 3 million cubic tons of dirt and rubble.
So is this the entrance here?
No, that's a tunnel made by the archaeologists. We should go inside this one.
The tunnel we're entering is the only one made by the ancients that's been found so far. But Linda thinks there may be other hidden tunnels. She wants to show me how they're trying to find these and why they may be important.
There we go.
With hard hats for protection, we descend into the tunnel.